Good evening, I'm meteorologist Robb Ellis. I want to give you a live update now, 7:03. We want to update you on this. The line of storms that we've been advertising for several days now would sweep across the area sometime this evening. We're now seeing that happen, and we've got about another hour or so before this crosses the Indiana state line and moves in. Here's the storm threat, level 3 on a scale of 1 to 5. Let's break that down into some of the parameters: tornado, hail, as well as wind damage. Now, the tornado threat is there as we're already seeing some tornado warnings being issued to our south and west. We still think that as this line moves through, it has a chance for a little bit of a spin up. The probability is what you're looking at in the color table here. So this yellow and orange is about a 2 to 5% chance at any given location could have a tornado within 25 miles. The hatched marking that you see means that the tornado threat could be that some of those tornadoes that do spawn could be on the stronger side. The atmosphere is pretty ripe for that. The biggest concern will certainly be damaging winds with that line of storms. We think that the winds could be as high as 70 miles per hour within some of those stronger cells. Also, the probability is higher the farther south and west you go along the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley. The hail threat is not as high as perhaps what we saw earlier this week into the northern parts of Illinois and Indiana, where we had those strong supercell thunderstorms, the tornadoes that unfortunately led to some fatalities from Kankakee over to, say, Lake Village, Indiana. That also produced some hail that was record-breaking in the state of Illinois. We don't think this is going to be a hail producer. This is mainly going to be a line of storms that will race across both Illinois and Indiana, and along the line, gusty winds, likely severe thunderstorm warnings. But as we get these little wobbles or kinks in the line, we will probably see tornado warnings issued, as is already being the case. One here into central Illinois, another just east of St. Louis, another south of St. Louis, and this purple shading here, that means this is an observed tornado. It is confirmed and on the ground. It's not just indicated by radar. This is one that has actually been seen by the naked eye, and then so they up the wording on that. I have a feeling we'll be using a lot of these warnings for tonight. So get used to it, because this is what we're expecting. And just to add insult to injury here, behind the line of severe thunderstorm warnings is this. A snow squall that they're tracking right now in western parts of Missouri. That just gives you an idea of the colder air that's back behind this once we deal with this line of severe weather. And I think we will have a chance to deal with that for tomorrow morning. Bursty snow that's going to be arriving, unfortunately, for the morning commute. Now, locally, we do have some scattered showers that have popped up into the western part of the state. These are not severe. They have been producing a little bit of lightning. The warnings are actually farther to the west, and there are a myriad of different types of warnings that we've been seeing. There's also some watches that are in place. So let's go through a few of these. To the north, we've got this pink shading. That is going to be a severe thunderstorm watch that's in place until 2 a.m. To the west is a tornado watch that's going to be in place until 10 p.m. Likely going to see one of those watches extended to the east, probably the tornado watch, as this line moves through, because we do suspect that we'll have a little bit of rotation along that line. In the meantime, we have a high wind warning that's going to be in place until 10 p.m. That's this kind of orange shade that you see here, because of the gusty winds that have been occurring all day, even outside of the line of severe storms. Eventually, we'll get into some of these tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and some of the various warnings that we have to the west as the line gets a little bit closer. In the meantime, we've had some gusts as high as 20 to 30 miles per hour. There's a 40 mile per hour wind gust. That's what's just been occurring within the last hour, but throughout the day, we've had some very strong wind gusts. 55 mile per hour wind gust at the airport. That occurred earlier this afternoon. A 56 mile per hour wind gust in Bloomington. That occurred in the early afternoon. Winds overall have calmed down because we've cooled the atmosphere just a little bit. The sunshine actually helped to mix up the atmosphere, and it brings some of those high winds down to the surface. The other thing that can do that is the line of storms as it rolls through, and we think that's going to be the case probably between about 8 o'clock through about midnight this evening. Some of the cameras that we're tracking, in-dot traffic cameras, they've been shaky all night because of the gusty winds. Things have certainly been calming down quite a bit. Bloomington we're going to be watching as well, probably one of the locations where we may see the storms roll through a little bit sooner than, say, Indy. I mentioned this a bit earlier in one of our updates, and it may be one of the things that helps out just a little bit. If we were talking about this line of storms rolling through in May or in June, there'd be leaves on all of these trees. It may not sound like a big deal, but when there's not as many leaves on the trees don't act as much like a sail. The winds are still going to topple some trees, but if they had winds on this, they have a better chance of falling over, although we've seen that play out over the last several days or so. Watching all of these cameras as we see some of the skies begin to darken just a bit. Temperatures are still into the 70s. Where some of those showers have been in place to the west, temperatures aren't quite as warm. We've got mid to upper 60s here, but still a lot of energy for these storms to work with. And I think once we do lose the heating of the day because the sun is setting, these won't drop dramatically, probably only going down into the mid 60s if they do cool off at all. Then the line of storms will roll through and then the temperatures are going to plummet. They're going to plummet in a big way. Here's your future track, 60s through 9 p.m., maybe even close to 70. The line of storms approaches, likely moves into the state 8:30 to say 9 o'clock according to this model, but Sean and I have been looking. We actually think it's going to be a little closer to say 8 to 8:30 crossing the state line. In Indy between maybe 9:30 and 10 o'clock in the west side, maybe even earlier than that depending on how this line is starting to shape up. It seems like it's accelerating just a little bit faster than this model has been depicting. But look at this, by 1 a.m. it's moved through the city. The rain is going to start wrapping up. Then the temperatures will be dropping. We're in the 40s, then the 30s. Then by early morning, we could be into the 20s as scattered snow showers are going to be expected a good portion of the day. Not significant accumulation, but enough that it could cause a coating on some of the roadways, especially the bridges and overpasses that are going to cool down much more quickly with temperatures into the 20s and gusty winds. We could be talking about wind chills for tomorrow. They're down near zero late tomorrow evening. So for the severe storms that we're tracking, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. is our time here. We are looking at the line of severe storms that's going to produce damaging winds and the concern for tornadoes. I would say that your damaging wind threat is going to be on the higher side. The tornado threat is on the medium to low side, but still certainly there. Good idea to make sure you're charging your phone at this point because you're probably going to at least have the power flicker. If the power does go out that way, you are prepared, and let's hope that that is not the case with the power outages. Couple of things to keep in mind here. There's a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings moving our way. We're probably going to see a lot of these severe thunderstorm warnings that have either quarter-size hail, but a good chance that we'll see 58-mile-per-hour winds. That's the threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning. National Weather Service has started to put some additional tagging on some of these storms. They could call it a considerable thunderstorm, and that just means that the hail is either golf ball sized or the winds are as high as 70 miles per hour. Pretty safe bet that we're going to see these move into Indiana. Whether they'll hold together, we'll watch. Already, we're starting to see some of these considerable thunderstorms being produced into western parts of Illinois. Destructive thunderstorms. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because your phones, if you've had them charged, typically when we get a tornado warning, your phone will go off and it will sound you automatically. It's a weather emergency alert. If there is a destructive thunderstorm, this one will also trigger that WEA, that weather emergency alert on your smartphone. That means that there's either a thunderstorm with baseball-sized hail, this is probably not going to be the case tonight, or 80-mile-per-hour winds. It's something certainly that we're going to be watching for this evening, as this is a pretty powerful line that's expected to move through. Meteorologist Sean Ash and I have you covered throughout the evening here. As soon as these severe thunderstorms cross the line or as they get close enough to the Indiana line, we're going to be with you for the rest of the evening, wall-to-wall coverage, and of course on WTHR. Keep it tuned right here on WTHR Plus. Be safe this evening and make sure you stay weather aware.